In 1952, Florence Chadwick tried to swim from Catalina Island to the coast of California. For 15 hours, she endured choppy waters, possible shark attacks, and extreme fatigue. Then a thick fog set in. She gave up. But 2 months later, she tried again. This time, though it was foggy again, she made it. When asked what made the difference, she said, "The first time all I could see was the fog. The second time I kept a mental image of that shoreline in my mind while I was swimming." For me, Chadwick's comment gives a great image of how heaven should function in our lives as we follow Jesus. In order to persevere through the fog and fatigue of life, we need a mental image of the eternal shoreline toward which we swim. But if you're like me, we tend to think about heaven far less than we should. For many days, it's completely off my radar. Not only that, but when we do think about heaven, we have a lot of misconceptions about it. So, let me remind us of some qualities we often forget about heaven, parts of the shoreline most likely to be overlooked. And the first one is, sadness is permanently unmade. We know that earthly sadness cannot enter heaven. This is true, but the Bible seems to point to something even more profound, namely that heaven will enter our earthly sadness. What do I mean by that? Well, this is what Revelation 21:4 says. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. This verse seems to be claiming more than simply we won't weep in heaven. The imagery of God wiping away our tears seems to suggest consolation for, as well as the end of, earthly grief and sorrow and sadness. Heaven will not simply end our pain. Somehow, it will mend it. Somehow, it will repair it. A theologian said once, resurrection means that every horrible thing that ever happened will not only be undone and repaired, but will in some way make the eventual glory and joy even greater. Now, imagine yourself newly arrived in heaven, and God Almighty summons you. As you stand trembling before Him, He surgically draws up the deepest wound of your life, healing you and transforming your pain into glory and joy. And that joy will only increase every day in heaven for an eternity. Number 2, every pleasure gets fully satisfied. We tend to think about the spiritual joy of heaven more than its physical pleasures. But I think heaven will have both. I will be the first to admit I don't know how to imagine all the details, but I don't think God created waterfalls and strawberries and relationships and art only to destroy them forever so we could float in an ethereal, cloudy heaven. And I'm pretty sure the pleasures forevermore at God's right hand from Psalm 16:11 are not exhausted by an eternity of singing praise choruses. That means something startling. Not only will heaven heal your earthly sorrow, but it will also recall and answer and fulfill all your earthly happiness. Your happy moments on earth are not lost to you. They will return to you in some deeper form, and you will feel happiness and joy and satisfaction in a way that you can't even dream of here and now. And not only that, we will have even deeper desires and longings, more than we could ever imagine, but they will always be fully satisfied. Number 3, we will see Jesus. How amazing will it be to finally see with our own eyes the risen, glorified, incarnate Christ in heaven. Truly, this will be one of the most glorious parts of heaven. The one to whom we've prayed 1,000 times, and he's always been invisible to us. Now we can look into his eyes and say thank you into his ear. But there are hints in the Bible of something even more intriguing, and we see this in Revelation 22:4 and Psalm 11:7. Theologians have often spoken of that heavenly vision, which involves not our resurrected bodily eyes, but the eyes of the soul. In this way, it is said, we will behold Christ in his divine nature, a glory that surpasses the sweetness of laying our physical eyes on him. Even the greatest theologians have a hard time to describe this experience, but they all agree it is the ultimate happiness of creatures. John Owen claimed that it will make us blessed unto eternity. We can hardly imagine an encounter like this with the glory of Christ. The question is, how will we even be able to take in such light and joy? Surely, this will be the pinnacle moment of our existence, where our joy will exponentially increase for an eternity. So, these qualities and features of heaven's eternal shoreline, they change how we swim, don't they? For now, we struggle through rough waters, deep fatigue, and thick fog. But the day is coming soon when the seemingly unending waves will give way to a broad, sturdy shoreline where the joy is full and the pleasures are forevermore. Knowing what awaits us at the shore can help us keep swimming, no matter how choppy the waves get. So, hang in there, brother and sister. We're almost home.